Hi,
Hi, Mr. Roop. How are you?
I'm good. I was so worried. This is the first time I'm doing it. I'm like, how am I going to be joining it? Great,
No,
nice to see you.
nice to see you too. But no, it's easy. Like I said, it's it's actually not that tough once you get the hang of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's my absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. I will do a quick introduction. I think you're such a familiar face, at least for my generation. And we kind of grew up with this show on the periphery, and when comedy was really the way it should have been, actually, even now. And fascinating to have read and to go across your story, which has evolved over time. And it's fascinating because I honestly believe that as you move along you keep evolving. But so it's my pleasure, Dr. Swaroop Sampat Rawal, for joining me on the show today. Let me begin by asking you, the last 2 years, have you sat down and actually gone through your journey? Have there been some kind of, revelations? Have you thought what you want to do next? What has it been like in the last 2 years?
Okay, I'll tell you a very, very interesting thing since you asked. On the first day of the lockdown, I got up and I was, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Right.
And I mean, I was like, I need to do something. I need to reach out to people. And I just kind of started understanding in my own, like empathizing what it would be like in people's homes and, kids, because I've been teaching since such a long time.
Yeah.
And because I teach life skills and it has to do with mental health. So I kind of, preempted what would be happening in people's homes. Maybe not on the first day, but soon. So I started this thing called the Life Skill Challenge, a 21-day life skill challenge. And after that, I did Lockdown 2.0.
Right.
And so I collected up all my info, which I had in my mind. And, as a researcher, and I'm going, they probably don't have stuff in the house. So let's play a game which, they don't need resources. All don't have big houses. A lot of my kids, my students stay in small one room houses and, stuff like that. So let me do something like that with their grandparents and, all that. But after a point, when all that was over, we were still not getting out and we still didn't know how to take COVID 19. Um, I said, my teaching is over. I'm never going to be teaching again. And because I use drama in education.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need
I do.
people, I need to, like we are all over each other, while we're playing games or in a small A4 size paper, there are probably three people standing on it, things like that. So obviously that's out. And I'm thinking everything I valued is over. Do I want to get up in the morning? I mean, seriously, I'm not lying. So I said, nothing can be done, and my world's going to end, and blah blah blue blue. But I have this very fabulous friend who's the head of the Department of Social Work at Sardar Patel University, and she says, "No, you have to teach." And I said, "Oh no, online, I hate it." But I did not realize, Jyotsna, I'm not making a big thing about it. You seriously have to believe me that God was preparing me for it. In the sense is, I know you're frowning and you're wondering, what is
No.
he preparing? No, I mean, like, not in a bad way, but still, confusion. So I started working on television and in films. I did my first performance uh, for Bombay Doordarshan. It was still called Bombay, not Mumbai at that time. I was just 17, 18 at that time. But after that, I did films and I did television and I faced the camera. And look, I know the camera loves me. There is no ways about that, and I love the camera. So the camera is my best friend.
Right.
And you put me in front of the camera and I'm cool, you know. So I started doing that. I started teaching my kids, my students that way. And I changed from drama in education to cinema in education. And I started using cinema to teach. And of course, it was very hectic because, I had to find film clips and edit them and, teach life skills using The Devil Wore Prada. I mean, like you're teaching
Right.
listening skills and you're saying, see, Meryl Streep's not listening, that type of a thing, or Bad
Yeah.
Men, and, things like that. And I have worked so hard in the last 2 years. I don't think I've ever worked so hard. One day, my computer had crashed, and I called the technician to check it up. And he goes, Hubby, look at the temporary files. I don't think you've ever worked so much in your whole life. And I said, yeah, I think I haven't ever worked so much. So I actually reinvented myself. And it's not as if I'm giving myself a certificate. I know I really worked hard and I've really taught. I've tried to excel in teaching online. And it's a very rare thing if you hear, because everybody used um, emergency techniques of teaching, a temporary method. But I did not do that. I developed effective methods of teaching in fact, I presented a paper in Malaysia, which was the crisis of the pandemic and daring to teach in the days of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was
And daring to
literally
teach
daring to teach.
and daring to
Yeah.
teach the teachers as well, right?
Yes, that's right. So
That
I think that gives you an answer to what you said. You must stop me and interrupt me because I can just
no.
go on talking.
No, I am going to come to the teaching part again, but yours is a very talented household. So, personally speaking, the last 2 years, has there been like a jostling of space? I mean, we've all jostled, right? Husband sitting at home, you've got to carry on working from home, children struggling
Right.
to get their work done. So, has there been a jostling of talent sitting at home?
Oh, it's been crazy. And I'll tell you something. Very, very long back, in the early 80s, there was a film strike. There was a strike in the film industry, and Paresh was at home every day. After 3 days, I said, look, Paresh, get up and get out of the house at 9. Go where you
Yeah.
want and come
Yeah.
home at 6. I just can't take you. Believe me, what is that film of his? I keep forgetting half the names. He's done so many films where this guest comes to
My
stay.
children will know. They love
Yeah, I'm
watching his films.
sure.
So my
And I bet
children will
some of
know
the
all the
people who are
names.
listening would. And you know
Yes.
what? He teaches the maid in the people's house he is as a guest as how to sweep the floor. Paresh used to do that at home. He would tell the maid, "Aisa karke karo, aisa kar," and the endless cups of tea. And I said, no, I can't take it. So this time we're all stuck and we really can't go out anywhere. It was very interesting because now my kids are big, like they're 29 and 30. We've had a great time. It's terrible to say that, but it was the first time where after my kids have grown up, we're all together for a long time at home. And one of the most important things happened is my son had an OTT release of his
Oh,
film,
excellent.
and we saw it together. And you know what was so beautiful? I mean, I loved it for my sons as a mother, is that after the film was over, we sat and discussed Aditya's performance. And then Anirudh would go, Dad, how was it like for you when you started acting? And, we just got to know each other more. Of course, there was this horrible thing of both of them doing auditions. And every afternoon it would be, okay, I have to audition. And
But
I
there
don't
must be
want to do. Sorry?
But there must be a lot of pressure on your children, with the kind of genes that they've got.
Luckily, I don't know. Seriously, yes, probably, but they are like really cool about it. And I brought up my kids to be really, like not in awe of anybody around. But then Paresh is so larger than life, but at home he isn't. So at home, he gets it most of the time. And sometimes my younger one goes, you know, mom's a better actor than you. And I'm like, "Ah, at least somebody in the world thinks I'm a better actor, you know. Of course, it's a great joke, but yeah.
So
So it
are
was,
you also still acting? Are you still
yes, I'm just a little bit, not so much, because my teaching takes up most of my time, but I'm going to be shooting soon as this
wave?
chaos is over, the third
Yeah.
wave. I'm doing a Hindi film with an incredible writer called Yogesh, who just won the National Award for Andhadhun. I'm going to be doing a horror comedy.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So it's a little bit, are you going to ever act with your husband? How do you feel about that?
Act with him. I've done plays with him and I
Yeah,
cry. I
in the
mean, there was
movie.
one play I did, I left 6 times every day because in a movie, it'll be great because he's not the boss. The director's the boss. Because he's the opposite of me. I'm the kind who fools around all the time. And Paresh is like so serious. He goes, party band karo, work. Save your energy for the shot, you know, things like that. And I'm like all over the place, chatting with people, fooling around. And he's just the opposite. You'll find him sitting in one far off corner with the book in his hand and, you know, reading and stuff like that. So we're very different. And we're very different type of actors too. So
So you've got such a close eye to, like you just said, your son and OTT platforms. That's the thing that's emerged out of the COVID as well, right? This resurgence of the OTT platforms. So,
yes.
old age actors like you, theater and movies, how do you feel about it?
Well, because of Yeh Jo Hai Zindagi, I can relate to OTT. But theater, I really miss that live thing. And even just producing a play, which I've been doing for a long time, and, with Paresh acting in it, I don't know when theater will come back. I'm praying for that. That's something we really missed in the 2 years. Live performance, and it kind of just brings a tear to my eye because, anyways, in theater, we're just kind of making ends meet, right?
True.
We're not making so much money in a play. And then if you're going to perform to a 50% house, it's terrible. The other thing is that, all the people who made the sets, the people who made the lights, and, all these small people, like the theater, the ushers, all of them are so badly out of work, and I mean, that is really sad because, anyways, they get paid so little. And now even that is not coming. So it's really tough. I really what I pray so much for is that theater starts again.
And movies as well. I mean, is this the
Of course,
hybrid?
movies as
No,
well
no.
too.
I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
no,
yeah.
no. I get what you're saying about theaters, but for movies, will this hybrid form of, OTT, where all the big stars are now launching themselves on OTT platforms as well, do you think that is going to be the trend?
You know something? It's so mean to say this, but I think the OTT platform is a real balancer. Because if you're performing great, you don't have
Yeah,
to be a star, and people are going to be watching you. You could, be a huge star and nobody wants to watch it. And then they'd rather say, oh, this new guy has come and he's really good, watch this.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to take names or anything because half the time I'd
Mm.
probably land up saying the wrong names. But
Let's
yeah,
avoid.
so you know what I mean? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's a balancer. I think it's a
No,
balancer.
yeah.
And the
If
other great thing about OTT is the kind of scripts that are coming, and the kind of web series that are being created. Now you don't have to worry about reaching out to all over India. Like you
Yeah,
could cater to a certain class or a
yes,
certain group of people. So that is great because then you can do what you want to do.
yeah. And as a
Yeah.
viewer as well, there's that choice now too,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah.
But how do you feel from the time when you were doing Ye Jo Hai Zindagi? Is there nostalgia that crops in once in a while?
It all the time. I mean, because they put it on again in the lockdown.
Yes,
So all the people who hadn't seen it saw it again.
yes.
And, it's so interesting is the kind of people you meet. Like, of course, this was before the lockdown. Once I was sitting at Delhi airport and was talking on the phone with my back to somebody. And when I put down the phone, this gentleman comes up to me and he says, your voice, I can never forget it. And I'm like, okay, like,
Yes.
nice. And so many people who go, my parents, went on talking about Yeh Jo Hai Zindagi, and we wondered what they were talking about, and we saw it in the lockdown and we loved it. And so, yeah, it's like kind of a whole revival, of
Did
the.
your children see it?
Okay, so my sons have studied theater arts at Bombay University and screenplay writing at NYU. And especially the one at Bombay University, like he says, there was this class of comedy, and the teacher walks in. So he says, "Oh God, now they're going to talk about dad." And the teacher says, "Anirudh, your mother was so good." So he says, he didn't talk about dad, but he talked about you acting as a comedy artist. And so I said, yeah, so see my work. But for them, it's only their dad who's a great actor. I mean, till I did Uri and things like that. And they said,
Yeah.
she's good. So I said, well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's been an interesting career. I mean, movies, the television, a hit iconic television serial, Miss India. How did you then decide to go back to studying at the age of 37 is what I believe.
Yeah, 38 actually. It
38, yeah.
was Paresh who inspired it because you see, I was bringing up two kids at home with Paresh doing 2, 3 shifts, and it was really tough. And Paresh found a huge pile of Mills and Boons next to my bed. And he says, "Is this what you fall into?" And I was like, so embarrassed. So, I mean, I was a college dropout. So I went and filled up the form of Annamalai Open University and did my master's in literature. So, I was forced to again reread the books I loved because I was a literature student in the first place.
Yeah.
So I started it again, and then it's there. My children's school, I learned about special ed, and I have this very interesting story. Is that I wrote to a university for a 3-month course in drama in education, and the university. I know a friend was there now. She's become a friend now, but she wasn't a friend when they opened that letter, that email over there. And the head of the department goes, she's a Miss India. We must bring her here. And so then they wrote to me and they said, with a CV like yours, would you consider doing a PhD? And I am a very, very typical middle class Indian mother. And I'm thinking, no, I need to save money for my children's studies. And, and we were still of that generation where you thought of a foreign exchange and, not wasting foreign exchange. So, I'm thinking, I don't want to waste foreign exchange on me. But the university gave me a full scholarship and they did not give me a chance to say no. So there was I doing a PhD at the age of 40.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I think my grandmother also did her studies with one of the exams with her own daughter. So, there's, I think
Yeah,
it's
my
fabulous.
sons were
That
doing their board exams and I was writing my theses. So it was all great fun.
So, how has the journey been as a teacher? Has it been fulfilling? And especially the last 2 years, I think that the need to reinvent in the field of education has been immense.
So it was not very easy. The first year after my PhD, I wrote to everybody on earth, in India. And I said, listen, I have this great way of teaching and I would like to help. But, I never got any answers till I wrote to one gentleman. He was then the chief minister of Gujarat state. And I wrote to him, and it's so funny is that the next day I got a call from his office, and he said, Shri Narendra Modi will see you next week. And I'm like, wow, he is something, And so I went to meet him and I talked to him about what I want to do. And he said, start teaching in Gujarat. And I remember he had a very cute name for me because I worked a lot in Gujarat, teaching all the teachers in Gujarat. And he called me Gujaratna Master Ji, which was such a cute name. I mean, I really was honored to be called that. And but it was always a very funny thing because you see, I teach life skills, I teach it through drama, and the higher education, people always considered me lightweight.
Okay.
And the primary education people could not understand. And the other thing is, one huge problem is that I come from a privileged home. So people who come from a privileged home have no right to be acknowledged, which really hurt a lot because I've worked tremendously with the tribals, with children out of school, with children in child labor. I've done huge programs like 25,000 villages, reaching 36,000 adolescent children in Gujarat. I mean, huge programs, 2.5 lakh teachers simultaneously. But you did not get acknowledged because you came from a privileged family, because you were good looking and you were a star. So, तो क्या
Yeah.
हुआ? That type of a thing. But now, in the last few years, people have started changing the way they look at me because of the tremendous body of research that I have, which stuns them. I mean, they're stunned that Swaroop Sampat has 2 PhDs.
Oh,
She
it
has
is
a
two.
yeah, so I have a doctor of letters and I have a PhD, which I've actually written. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
honorary, you know what I mean?
Right, right,
I mean,
right.
it's like I can stand up there and say, um, um, the action research you're doing is rubbish. And they will just have to listen to me. So now things are changing, and I'm on the Central Advisory Board of Education. I've just helped writing two curriculums. One is the new BA BEd course for art educators, and the new curriculum in art education. And I'm on the focus group, which we're going to write the curriculum for holistic and enjoyable pedagogy. So now people are kind of taking it a bit seriously.
Right. N- No, I think they should. Definitely they should. And you also said you work with rural children.
Yes.
Whenever we come out of this long tunnel, this endless long tunnel, how are we, in your opinion, how are we going to embrace them back into, the education fold, given the kind of digital inequality that we've seen in the last 2 years?
So it was not them that suffered a lot, but it was the middle group that suffered a lot. Because you see, the tribal children, like I know in Nandurbar, they were like still, happy going to school and, they were happy
Yeah,
playing around. Whereas the upper, I'm talking of the segment, I'm not talking of a class.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking of the very rich and the very high
yeah.
schools. They were having very good, but it was that middle one, which was suffering a lot. So those are the people we're going to save. There are going to be lots of girls and children who didn't go to school for a long time. And we have to see that our girls go back to school. Which
Yeah.
at this point, I know you didn't ask me, but I want to say it, is that, bringing up this marriage age of 21 is one of the most brilliant things that they've done from an educator's point of view. Because otherwise, my girls at 16 and 17 gave up hope of studies because they were going to be married off. Where now, with the age going up, they have, like they have a chance to study and, make a career. The other thing is it's going to stop a lot of child trafficking girls, because the marriage age makes a very big difference.
But isn't
So
it like a double-edged sword in the sense that families are then going to sit and think that, oh my God, now we've got to feed these girls for another 2 years. We've got to feed
no,
an extra mouth.
now with all the new vocational education and stuff happening, girls can actually think of careers.
Let's hope so.
I mean, just remember we are talking of rural girls in rural
Yeah,
and the small villages and small towns,
yeah,
especially small towns. I'm
yeah,
not talking
yeah.
of big cities. I'm telling you, this is going to be great. We can have this conversation another 2, 3 years later, and you see it'll be a huge change.
I'll hold
I
you to
know
that.
that. Yes.
Definitely. I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I'm going to be ending this conversation as well, but I have a couple of questions to go.
Sure.
One
Tell
is
me.
what has been your biggest challenge in life?
Two, three, two, three, two, three, two, three. One is surviving in films.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be very uppity, but my sensibilities and the films that were made when I was in films, I think it was the worst time for filmmaking. They made the most horrible films. And I died. I used to cringe. I used to be like, I don't want to do this. But I tried very hard to survive there. Great directors were becoming old. The new ones had not yet come.
Yeah.
And
Transitionary stage.
yeah,
Yeah.
and people didn't understand so much my type of people. So that was very, very tough for me. Um, the other thing was getting people to understand what I'm trying to tell them about life skill education and using, experiential learning and believing in this. Because people, it's there in the NEP, but people don't understand what it is. People don't understand what drama in education is. And they think, oh, yeah, it's something, fun and games. They don't know that life skill is life changing. That's
That's
two
it's so
things.
important. Yeah, it is. I think it's where we've struggled with our education.
Yeah,
Because
Jyotsna,
first
it's
thing,
like I go, please listen to me. Please, I beg you, I'll go on my knees. Just listen to me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it has. And the other question is, you were a Miss India. What is your take on these pageants now? Has it outlived its time?
What I think is that they don't just let the girls be, but this is the thing about the new age. You know, too much makeup, too much perfection, too much training, that they all become clones. Whereas, if you go to the 70s and you see each one of us really great, stunning, but we all looked so good. I have a scar on my chin. And, the plastic surgeon says, do you want to do that? And I said, no, that's me, you know.
Yeah, you
So,
won't see it today. Yeah,
yeah, I don't want it to go.
yeah,
It's me. So, I mean, so much perfection. I don't
yeah,
think, like Chand pe bhi
yeah.
daag hai types. So,
It's very unfortunate, isn't it?
yeah, because then, they don't look different. They just speak the same. They behave the same, they walk the same, they look the same, they dress the
Yeah,
same, they have the
yeah.
same perfect figure. So it's boring.
It is, it is.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, what next? What can we expect to see from, somebody who's so multi-talented like you?
Hopefully more films.
That would be great.
I love films. I love working in films. And some great changes in education in India. I'm going to really push for that. So two
Excellent.
things. Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. I hope you manage both. What is it like now to, go and make the movie rounds again? Is it like, are you starting from scratch or,
No, no, I'm
with the
not
new and
starting from scratch, and I'm so terrible. Is like somebody asked me, would you audition? So I
Mhm.
said, you know what I do? You know what type of an actress I am? You're actually asking me to audition. Sorry, I don't audition. So either you cast me or you don't. But you know how I signed Uri? You must know that. It's really funny. So Paresh and my son Aditya Rawal
Yeah.
were talking with Aditya Dhar, and they would go on talking about this one film, and I would keep hearing about it when they came home, that Aditya had come over, and he was talking about this. And one day we were watching something about Doval ji, and Paresh was standing in the background, and he was moving his head the way he does. And I said, you're doing Ajit Doval. So he says, yeah, maybe, kind of thing. And then Aditya Dhar calls me up one day and he says, Swaroop ji, I have a role for you in the film. I said, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So he said, but you don't even know the role. I said, Aditya, I'm doing the film. And I just go like that, I go by that heart which says, do it, and it always works. The length never matters.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So all the best, and perhaps we'll even see you on the OTT platforms. You never know.
Yes,
Maybe with your
yes.
son, if not your husband.
Yeah, that would be
So
great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
it would be fantastic. But thank you so much for joining me today, Swaroop. It was wonderful speaking with
Thank
you.
you for inviting me. It was such a pleasure talking to you. And I must tell you, you're so cute. You're so pretty. I've been looking at your pictures the whole day today, and I'm like, wow, she's so good looking.
Oh,
And you're
that's so
so nice
kind
to
of you.
talk to you. It was really fun. I mean, I just can't believe that I don't know you. I feel as if I know you so well. So
That's so
keep in
kind.
touch.
I will
Yes.
absolutely, and I'm sure I'll get you back on the show. Next,
My
you're
pleasure.
moving, and then we'll be back again. But thank you. It was
Thank
wonderful
you.
speaking with you.
See
Thank you,
you.
and thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me on this episode of Table Talk. I'll be back again soon.
Bye.
Bye, and be